All right, here we go again. Peace and fam from Bubba Shabazz, the Black Rose Nation, Holistic Sunshine Management. We're culture farming today and every day. It's just a purpose of life. But as we culture farm through Black History Month, we're going to bring you those gems and jewels from our library. We're going to go through some of the books in our library, thumb through these books to see what was underlined and what was circled. You know, what stood out to us at that time? What did we think we should reach back in and attach to? What did we want if someone else flipped through the book for them to read? So let's do that, at least for the first half of the month. We're on book 2 today. What do we got? Kayak, A Black History in Canada. Canada's history magazine for kids. That's right. It's done in what, 2022? Keep in mind it's a government book. And like our video yesterday said, COINTELPRO wasn't just the States. But we're reading today from Black and Indigenous. See what we got all up in here. Black and Indigenous. I urge you, especially if you're in the Maritime region, to look up what's Sugar Plum, George Eliot Clark. Man, I wish I remembered everybody. There's got to be a Johnson in there. But the Afro Metis Constitution. It's an album, musical album put together, and it really speaks to what we're talking about today. Salute to that, the Afro Metis Constitution. Let us read. Afro-Indigenous is an umbrella that covers a lot of different situations. Each individual has a unique story and may identify more specifically with one parent's heritage or with both. Some describe themselves as Jamaican and Cree, others Ethiopian and Anishinaabe, or Black and Micmac. I'm going to shout out to Kelly Sillaboy from Nova Scotia. We went to school together for a brief time. Great woman right there, lots of strength in that. She'd always be saying black, or Mick Black. Mick Black. Relating, right? We're walking through the agricultural college looking at color on color, and, she's making a connection. So I appreciate you, Kelly. Maybe I should have said it more back then. But peace, queen. Rock that stuff good. Let us read. Oral history, or stories passed from parent to child, tells us the first Afro-Indigenous people were children of enslaved Black and Indigenous couples. Others were born of freedom seekers and members of the Indigenous community that took them in. Their offspring would be considered Afro-Indigenous. Many of these people were escaped slaves and who sought refuge in Indian communities, Indigenous communities. Although many Indigenous nations sympathized with the enslaved Blacks, some Indigenous allies of the British were also involved in the kidnapping, trading, and enslavement of African people during and after the American Revolution. Right. We got the one-liners, we got the quotes, those chants. But as we get older, we need to dive deep and understand all sides of these things in order to grow good fruit from a good tree with good roots in good soil. So let's refurbish our soil to a living soil. So that's what's nourishing our brain, is within the full 360 degrees of understanding here in this you and I verse. Now, where were we at? Some freedom seekers made their way into Micmac, the homeland, and the Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee communities. According to oral stories, they married Indigenous people and their children became the Afro-Indigenous people. That blend has existed in Canada for more than 400 years. The Proclaiming Our Roots website is a great place to learn more about the Afro-Indigenous people and their long history here on Turtle Island. It has a collection of stories from those who identify as both Black and Indigenous, and it's one of the very few projects studying the Afro-Indigenous history of people here in Canada. Although, said by all the kitchen tables, all the wisdom keepers, they'd be saying this, they'd be murmuring at all the picnics and stuff. But I guess, 2024, the United Nations decade of indigenous African peoples, and what's going on right now is, Ezekiel's bones are getting flesh back on, and eyes are opening up and breath in them. So we'll find out a little more of that knowledge itself that was taken. Dr. Kane Wilson and Anne-Marie Beals have done a lot to raise awareness of Black and Indigenous people in Canada. A lack of research about this group can make them seem invisible to other Canadians. There is more information available about Afro-Indigenous groups in the U.S., like the Black Seminoles. Ooh, yeah. The Black Seminoles were known as a blend of free Black people and freedom seekers who settled and lived with the Indigenous Seminole Nation. The communities intermarried and worked together, helping each other to try to stop white people from grabbing their land. Eventually, the black Seminoles were forced to relocate west, while some Seminoles hid in the Florida swamps. Heck yeah. Some of the folks around here who's be speaking on this, we see some pictures right there. Shout out, family. In the past few years, Canadians have started to hear more about Afro-Indigenous voices in the media, online, and in the arts, like Adeline Bird, Afro Anishinaabe, an author, filmmaker, broadcaster, wrote the book Unapologetically You. There's Jaquil Marshall Rudy from the Toronto soccer team, who identifies as Jamaican, German, and Mi'kmaq descent. We got Julian Taylor, the musician who's been nominated twice for the Canadian National Music Awards, describes himself as both Mohawk and West Indian. Not to mention Brother Oscar Baker III, the writer and father, Black Mi'kmaq from Mezzi-Bogtog First Nation, New Brunswick, and St. Augustine, Florida. The journalist, what other to say, man? Walrus Magazine, what's up, brother? The Afro-Indigenous connection, absolutely intense. We speak to these things. Mick Black, Afro Metis, a lot of these words and stuff, like a lot of things nowadays, they're trigger words. Getting people woke up, de-woked, the bad woke, the right woke, whatever you're trying to say, whatever you're trying to, Buffy St. Marie, pretendians, I don't know, what's the pretendy blackians, you know, what's all that stuff. But finding out who we are is very important. Black History Month is for that, you know, reaching back and finding out about yourself to give yourself the strength and fortitude to move on. So when we dive in deep from these children magazines, we can go even deeper into the first Americans were Africans, expanded and revised. I just want to take a few excerpts of this. We'll probably read this book later, but to speak on the Afro-Indigenous here in the wilderness of North America, so we can have a understanding from a Ph.D. standpoint. The Algonquin are also known as the Lenape. The Algonquin, however, should not be referred to Lenape until after 2600 BC. Before the Algonquin began to mix with the Mongolian Huinu people, the Algonquin were Proto-American Africans. Once they mixed, they were called Lenape. Seems like Africans have been here over 400 years. By the time the Mongolian Huinu reached Delaware, they had been mixing their blood for 1,204 years. The first mound builders were from Africa, just as the first Algonquin originally were before they mixed. Woo! What are we're trying to get on? Oh yeah, is this over here? The Virginia Department of Historical Resources has revealed in their literature that the American Indians were in Virginia at least 16,000 years ago. This is 14,508 years before Columbus' arrival. Even though this 16,000-year-old discovery is far more recent than the 51,700-year-old South Carolina find, the Virginia Department of Historic Resource mentions of the 16,000-year discovery is still 4,000 years before the Bering Strait Glacier first began to melt around 12,000 years ago. Relating this find to Clovis, Paleo-Indians are documented by the state of Virginia to have been in North America 6,600 years before the Clovis people in 9,400 BC. Maps tracking the Algonquin show their first concentration was in southeastern Canada and the northeastern United States. Woo! Algonquin connection to the Egyptians. Mi'kmaq writing systems also part of their language is derived from the ancient Egyptian. Ooh. Well, I just want to say, this is Black History Month and we're diving in. So what is black? Who's black? How long you been black? How black are you? Is it 10%, quatroon, octoroon? What are you mentioning here? When were the first black people here? Because if we want a PhD study and we want to use DNA and we want to talk about the Twa people, do we want to talk about the Clovis? Do we want to talk about the Algonquin? Which migration do we want to talk about? Because black history has been global forever. No matter what continent you go to or what land you go to, you're going to find what you are calling black. You may want to call it African, Alkebulan, whatever you're saying, but there's black. And then there's mixing later on in different times and different peoples and coming across absolutely right. But for a little bit of correction, Black has been here over 400 years. I appreciate the book. A lot of great information in here, all worth building upon. They're all quoted, you know. But I mean, the bibliography at the back is not as easy to find where the information came from. This is why when we get older, all these... Wait, where am I here? Where am I at here? You got to get to your bibliographies. Your bibliographies of where you found the information. So got to help us dig deeper. So thanks to all who put in work. Thanks to continue to put in work. And thanks for anybody who's watching. Like and subscribe out there. Share this video around. When you're at your friend's, neighbor's, family computer, you're at school somewhere, go to our YouTube site and subscribe to that account which you're on. Spam them with our information. Why? Because it's culture farming. We're trying to build that world we want, with the smiles on the faces we want, with the laughter from the children we want, with the parents still playing the childish games with the children and neighborhood kids, so that we come together in this way it's feeling right now, folks. Go outside and play. Read books. This is Bubba Shabazz from the Black Rose Nation. Culture farming with you today during Black History Month 2024, as we do a video a day for the entire month. This is year 4, I believe, that we've been doing it. Find out your knowledge yourself. Peace, fam.